Hello everyone, hi, how are you guys doing? I am making this video after a long time, and the purpose of making this video is basically to have a very quick discussions on relationship of a PGWP with the AAIP streams. Okay, so PGWP, as all we know, is a postgraduate work permit that the students who have studied in Canada get from the institutions, and then they work on based on this particular work permit. So a PGWP technically is a open work permit. Is a open work permit, but for a limited time, right? So many students get this particular type of work permit, gain experience from this particular work permit, and then go on and apply for a full work permit. So a PGWP, again, as most of us know, and many people who have been contacting me is saying that they have a PGWP, and then basically there are two categories of people here who are from Alberta, who have got a PGWP from an Alberta institute, and then from other provinces. Okay, and then there is always a confusion on the applicability and the nuances associated with a PGWP. So the one most question is, how does a PGWP help or doesn't help in any of the Alberta Advantage immigration programs? So if you are looking for Alberta Advantage immigration program, and if you have a PGWP, watch this video till the end, and I hope you will have the answers. So let's start with a quick refresher on the AAIP streams. AAIP has multiple streams for workers, and the first stream that we all know is called the Alberta Opportunity Stream, or the AOS. Okay, the second stream is Alberta General Express Entry. Okay, Alberta General Express Entry, and then as a subset of Alberta General Express Entry is the very popular Alberta Tech Pathway, or ATP, and the last but not the least is Alberta Rural Renewal Scheme, which is basically the Alberta Rural Renewal Scheme. Okay, so Alberta runs these particular four programs or four particular streams for a worker. So if you are a worker, one of these streams would apply to you. Now, this particular video will only discuss these four streams from a PGWP point of view. Okay, so let's look into the streams one by one. So let's go to the first stream, or the AOS stream. So under AOS, if you are interested in AOS, and if you have a PGWP, or either you have a PGWP experience, or you are working on PGWP. So if you fall in this particular category, then does a PGWP helps? The short answer is yes, but subject to conditions. So there is always an asterisk mark there. So first point that you need to understand is that for AOS, PGWP is a valid open work permit, right? So so for AOS, you need to be working in Alberta in a authorized work permit, and if you have a PGWP, it is considered valid, right? It's a government document, and it is considered valid. So if you are already working in Alberta in a PGWP, then it's considered valid. However, if you have a PGWP, the next thing that you need to consider, or you need to know, is that your field of study, right? Your field of study and your occupation should be related, right? So if you are working, if you have a PGWP and your work stream is supply chain management, your occupation should relate to that particular field of study. It cannot be that you are working, say you have your field of study is supply chain management, and then you are working in a Tim Hortons, right? So those kind of things will not help you in if you have a PGWP. Okay. The second thing is that your PGWP experience will count only if it is from a Alberta approved institution, right? So if you have a PGWP and if you want that experience to be counted, then that PGWP should be from a Alberta approved institution. Okay, so that is again very important for you to know for AOS. Okay, and the last but not the least, so Alberta Opportunity Stream has certain work experience requirements. You need to have certain amount of work experience, certain number of months, and if any of that work was done under PGWP, then it can be counted, again subject to the conditions is which is basically that your PGWP from an Alberta institute plus it should be full time, plus the experience is in Alberta. Okay, so if these conditions are satisfied, your time spent, your work experience spent under your PGWP can be considered for your AOS. So if you are under AOS, if you are interested in AOS, then yes, PGWP helps subject to certain conditions. So I hope you are able to understand the relationship of PGWP and the Alberta Opportunity Stream or AOS. Okay. Next, let's go to the second stream, which is your Alberta General Express Entry. Okay. Now here the first thing that we need to understand is that there is no specific conditions. Okay. There is no specific condition, either positive or negative. Okay, so if you have a PGWP, if you have gained experience in PGWP, if you already have PGWP, for Alberta Express Entry it doesn't matter, right? So it will not affect you positively or it will not affect you negatively. The only thing that if you have a Canadian degree, right? If you have a Canadian degree, the only thing that the condition says that if you have a Canadian degree, then your chances of getting a NOI increases. Okay, so Alberta General Express Entry, again a quick refresher, it pulls the active profiles from the Federal Express Entry pool based on the scores and based on NOCs and many other factors. So Alberta from time to time does draws, right, from the Federal Express Entry pool, but the chances of getting in this draw increases if you have a Canadian degree. So as far as your Alberta Express Entry is concerned, your PGWP doesn't really helps. So it's possible that you have a degree if you are studying in Alberta, but you don't have a PGWP, which is also fine. Not every student will go for PGWP, right? So if you have a Canadian degree, if you never held PGWP, it's okay. As far as your Alberta General Express Entry is concerned, that doesn't matter. Okay, let's go to the very popular Alberta Tech Pathway. Okay, so here, this is again we have to understand is a subset of Alberta General Express Entry, and here also the same conditions is applicable for the PGWP. So if you have a Canadian degree, your chances of getting a NOI increases. However, this Alberta Tech Pathway is a EOI plus NOI process, which basically means you can apply. Okay, apply and get a NOI. So that is the only difference here. So for both General Express Entry and Tech Pathway, your PGWP doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. So you should not be, if you don't have a PGWP, or if you have a PGWP and you're interested in General Express Entry or Tech Pathway, it doesn't matter for you, right? So you need not worry about any further conditions. Okay. Last but never the least is the Alberta Rural Renewal Scheme, or the RRS. Okay. Under Rural Renewal Scheme, again something like AOS, if you have a PGWP, then yes, it can help, but subject to conditions. Right? So if you are, for example, how it helps. So if your PGWP is from an Alberta institute, right, in the same designated, in the same community as your job offer, right? If you have gained your, if you have your PGWP, if your same community is the job offer, then you do not need to meet the work experience criteria. Need to meet the 12 months work experience criteria. So this is kind of a relaxation. So yes, so if you have a for PGWP, for Rural Renewal Scheme, it relaxes some condition. Okay. Plus, if you have, again similar to AOS, if you have your work experience, so this is for people who are already have a same community, like who have PGWP from the designated community college, okay, or the college in the designated community. What happens if you have a PGWP from outside community, okay, outside the rural community? Then if your PGWP is from an Alberta institute, plus is full-time, plus your work experience is in Alberta, then you can use the work experience towards your RRS qualification. So for example, you have worked say 20 months outside your designated community in Alberta, right? So for that, and that work you have done under a PGWP, then yes, you can use that particular work experience towards your qualification if you satisfy the conditions of Alberta Institute, full-time, and your work experience is also in Alberta. So you might work outside the rural community but in Alberta, right? So if you have a PGWP, if you have worked outside Alberta for total time, then for the Rural Renewal Scheme, there is no added benefit. Okay, but understand this. This is only a discussion on your work experience related to PGWP, right? PGWP is again a very limited time open work permit. So if you don't have this particular, so this condition is only applicable for work experience gained under PGWP. For any work experience gained after PGWP, the general conditions is applicable. The only thing is that whether you would be able to use your work experience gained under PGWP in any of the schemes is the purpose of this presentation. Okay, so I hope I was able to explain it to you. Again, a very quick synopsis. If you are interested under Alberta Opportunity Stream, then your PGWP will help if your field of study and your occupation is related. If your if your education or your PGWP is from a Alberta approved institution, and the work experience that you want to use towards your AOS qualification should be from an Alberta institute for a full-time job, and from your all the work experience should be in Alberta. Under all these conditions, your PGWP work experience can be used for AOS. For Alberta General Express Entry and Alberta Tech Pathway, there is no issues. Your PGWP really doesn't matter as far as your Alberta General Express Entry or Tech Pathway is concerned. The only thing that you need to understand here is, if you have a Canadian degree, your chances of getting nominated increases. That's the only part. That's the only part that gets close to PGWP. And the last, the rural renewal scheme, again very similar to the Alberta opportunity stream, but the only thing that you need to understand here is that here there is an additional relaxation available to you if your college is, if you have attended a college in a rural community, then you don't need to meet the 12-month experience criteria. So this is also a very important consideration. So if you happen to be in a college which is in the rural community, and if you have gained any kind of work experience there, you can use that time as your qualification under the rural renewal scheme. So I hope this presentation was helpful to you, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.